everyone, it is Emily here, and this is my end of May wrap-up. I actually only read 2 books at the end of May, and I am currently reading 2, so this could be a relatively reasonably timed wrap-up. We'll see what happens. Let's do this. So the first book that I completed was the gem that is Strange the Dreamer by Lady Taylor, and I'm gonna blind you with the shininess of this beautiful cover. And this book was so lovely, and I had heard people tell me that I was going to love this book, and I've heard people raving about this book, and so I'm not really surprised that I loved it. It was just so delightful, and I don't want to tell you too much about it, because honestly, going into Strange the Dreamer, I didn't really know anything about the plot at all. Like, I just kind of went into it blindly, and I loved that I went into it blindly. And so I'm not really going to tell you much about the plot. Delightful, and I love the character of Laszlo. He made the book for me. I loved it because I love him. He was just such a wonderful, wonderful character, and I cannot wait for the next book because I can read more about him. I just think that he was so well done and fantastic, because he definitely was the dreamer, eyes and head in the sky, but he also just had so much more depth to him than that, and it was fantastic. And I gave it 4.5 stars because there definitely were times it felt a little bit slow, and Lady Taylor uses a lot of very flowery language. And if you are a person that doesn't really enjoy flowery language and an overabundance of it, this might not be the book for you. That does take it down a notch for me, because while I really enjoyed her flowery language, and she does it really, really well, she's one of the few authors I can stand that from, it can take away from the story a little bit. And this book definitely is not one that's very plot-driven. Like, there is totally a plot, but it's not one where, like, there's things happening every turn of the page, and it's like, oh my gosh, then this happened, and then that happened, and oh, my mind was blown! Like, that's not what this book is. It's just more about the world and the characters, and just being in this, you know, strange, dream-like book, and it was fabulous. So I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book I finished was The Fairy Godmother by Mercedes Lackey. I had gone on Twitter about a week or 2 ago just requesting some fairy tale retellings that were not YA. I adore YA, and I adore YA retellings, and I love that there is just this abundance of YA retellings of fairy tales and old legends and folklore and all of the things. But I also do appreciate and like adult literature, and so I was kind of wondering, hey, why aren't there many fairy tale retellings for grown-ups? Because we like that stuff too. And I was recommended Mercedes Lackey that she does a lot of fairy tale retellings, and this is the first book in her 500 Kingdoms series. And I ended up giving this book 3 to 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it because it is basically about this girl who you think is going to be a Cinderella story, but then she ends up becoming a fairy godmother instead. And it's kind of a cool twist on it, and I really like the whole fairy tale feel of it. And it definitely took on a fairy tale style of writing. And I liked how it kind of goes into how fairy tales happen and why so many cultures have the same different versions of the same story. And I really, really love that. And I think there was a lot of things that it did that I enjoyed, which turned those classic stories on their head. And I really, really appreciated that. The thing that frustrated me, though, was just her writing style. I just felt like it wasn't as advanced as I had thought it was going to be. I really don't know how else to explain it. Just of different things where I felt things could have gone faster, where it was kind of lagging, or the way I felt like she was telling us more things versus showing us more things, kind of like that technical writing style stuff. And normally I don't let that bother me a whole lot if I'm really enjoying the story and the characters, but just with this book, it really brought down the experience for me, and I felt like there were so many things where she had all these really great ideas and all these great twisted fairy tales, and it would be almost awesome, but then she would just kind of draw back a little bit, and I'm like, you were so close, you were so close, and it was really frustrating. And I do think I'm going to continue with the series and at least read the next book and see where it goes, because I think it could be really fun and really interesting, and this book definitely had the feel of the beginning of a series. But if I don't really enjoy the second book, I'm not sure if I'm going to go on with the series. So now I am currently reading 2 books. One is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which is a collection of short stories / novellas by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Wasserman, and this takes place between the Mortal Instruments series and the Dark Artifacts series, and this is all the things that happens to Simon, and we also get some Shadowhunter history in this. So if you haven't read the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices, there's going to be spoilers for those books in this set of novellas / short stories, so just FYI. But I'm really enjoying it. I am that far through, so not quite halfway, but a little over a quarter of the way through. And I am really enjoying it. Simon is one of my favorite characters from the Mortal Instruments, and so I thoroughly enjoy reading about him, and I'm really liking the other side supporting characters that are making appearances. And I definitely have to remind myself things that happened, because it's been a long time since I read the last Mortal Instruments book. And so I'm trying to be like, oh wait, what happened exactly? So I have to refresh my memory a lot. But I am thoroughly enjoying it. And then in my search for adult fairy tale retellings, I was referred to The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And I've had my eye on this book for a little while. I'm not sure exactly which story this is inspired by, and I've been trying to research on Google, but pretty much all I've been able to find is, oh, The Bear and the Nightingale is a retelling of a Russian folktale, but I haven't been able to find out what Russian folktale it is. But I am maybe a little bit more of a quarter of the way through it, and I am liking it, but this was referred to me by 2 of my friends on Twitter, the Wendy Lady and NonCompliantSamantha, and I'll leave their Twitter handles for you down below in the doobly-doo. And we are buddy reading this book, and so I'm almost done with part 1, and so I'm going to pause it for just a little bit while they catch up, and because I just read like insanely fast because I'm crazy, and it is enjoyable, and it is a historical fantasy, and so this is in medieval Russia, because I've read a bunch of medieval stories but none from Russia, and so I've been having fun kind of like Googling a couple things about the history, and there's also a glossary in the back of this book which tells you the different terms, and I've been learning a little bit more about the culture of medieval Russia and what they would wear and eat and things like that, so I find that really fascinating, and it is definitely, you could tell it's definitely steeped in the Russian folklore, because not that I know much about Russian folklore, but I can definitely tell that the research has been done well, and there's a really rich history behind this, and yeah, it's really good. It is a little bit slow so far, because I feel like this entire part 1 has just been a setup for the main story that was described in the book cover, but I am really enjoying it. So there we go. 2 books completed, 2 books I'm currently reading. Not bad. Let me know what you read in May. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all later. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!